Emma sat in the empty house, staring at the door Daniel had walked out of. The silence was suffocating. The thrill she once felt with Liam now seemed meaningless, replaced by an unbearable emptiness. She had lost everything: her husband, her home, and the stability she had taken for granted. A life without Daniel. Days turned into weeks, and Emma found herself struggling to move on. She reached out to Daniel several times, leaving messages that went unanswered. She even wrote him a heartfelt letter, admitting her mistakes and begging for a chance to make things right. But Daniel had made up his mind. He had filed for divorce, and there was no turning back. Liam, the man she had risked everything for, seemed distant. The excitement of their affair faded now that they were no longer sneaking around. What had once felt exhilarating now felt hollow. He stopped replying to her messages as frequently, and soon, Emma realized the bitter truth: Liam had never truly loved her. He had only been interested in the chase. Daniel's new beginning. Daniel, on the other hand, was trying to rebuild his life. The betrayal had left deep scars, but he refused to let it define him. He threw himself into work, focused on personal growth, and even started therapy to process his pain. One evening, he met Sophie, a kind, intelligent woman who had also been through a difficult past. Their conversations felt effortless, their laughter genuine. With time, Daniel began to see a future where he could trust and love again. Emma's regret. Emma, now alone, realized how much she had taken for granted. She saw pictures of Daniel with Sophie on social media. He was smiling, truly happy. It hit her like a wave: she had been his world, and she had thrown it all away for something meaningless. She tried to reach out one last time, sending a message: ***, Daniel, I miss you. Can we talk? ***, but Daniel had moved on. He didn't reply. He didn't need closure, he had already found it. The final lesson Emma learned the hard way: that betrayal comes with a price. She had traded a lifetime of love and loyalty for a fleeting moment of passion. And now, she was left with nothing but regret. As Daniel walked hand in hand with Sophie into a new chapter of his life, Emma sat alone, haunted by the consequences of her choices. Some mistakes can never be undone. And some people, once lost, never return. Months had passed since Daniel walked out of Emma's life. The divorce was finalized, and he had moved to a new city to escape the painful memories. Meanwhile, Emma was left alone in the same house, haunted by the consequences of her betrayal. Emma's regret. Emma had thought she could move on, but life had a cruel way of reminding her of what she had lost. The thrill of her affair with Liam had quickly faded. Without the secrecy and excitement, their relationship became dull. Liam no longer seemed interested in her, and soon, he stopped returning her calls. One evening, Emma decided to confront him. She went to his apartment, only to find another woman answering the door. Her heart sank as she realized she had been replaced just as easily as she had replaced Daniel. "Liam isn't here," the woman said with a smirk, shutting the door in Emma's face. It was then that she understood the depth of her mistake. She had given up a devoted husband for a man who never truly cared about her. Guilt consumed her, and she found herself longing for the stability and love she once had with Daniel. She started falling into depression, barely eating, barely sleeping. She would sit in the dark, scrolling through old pictures of her and Daniel, reminiscing about the love she had taken for granted. Daniel's new life. Daniel, on the other hand, was healing. The betrayal had wounded him deeply, but he refused to let it define him. He focused on his work, his friends, and most importantly, himself. Therapy had helped him come to terms with his pain, and he was finally learning to trust again. One day, while visiting a bookstore, he met Sophie. She was kind, intelligent, and had an energy that reminded him of what happiness felt like. They started talking, and before he knew it, they were meeting for coffee, then dinner. With time, Daniel found himself smiling more, feeling lighter. He had thought love was over for him, but Sophie proved otherwise. Though he had been reluctant to open his heart again, Sophie's warmth slowly broke down his walls. She never pressured him, allowing him to take his time. With her, he felt safe, understood, and seen. He started traveling, exploring new places, and trying things he never would have before. For the first time in years, he felt truly free. The final attempt. One night, Emma saw a picture of Daniel and Sophie on social media. He looked happy, genuinely happy. For the first time, she realized he had truly moved on. Desperate, she picked up her phone and sent him a message. "Daniel, I miss you. Can we talk?" She waited for hours, staring at her phone, hoping for a reply. But it never came. Daniel had closed that chapter of his life. He had forgiven, but he would never forget. The pain she had inflicted on him had changed him, and he was never going to allow himself to be vulnerable to her again. Emma, on the other hand, continued to live in her regret. She tried dating again, but every relationship failed. She was never able to find someone like Daniel, someone who had truly loved her for who she was. Her guilt became her prison, a reminder of the happiness she had foolishly thrown away. The lesson: Emma lost everything for a fleeting moment of excitement. In the end, she was left with nothing but regret, while Daniel found a new beginning. Some betrayals can never be undone. And some doors, once closed, never open again. The final scene: as Daniel walked hand in hand with Sophie on a beach in Greece, watching the sunset, Emma sat alone in her dimly lit apartment, staring at her phone, waiting for a message that would never come. Life had moved on without her, and she had no one to blame but herself.